There is a sack of potatoes on the floor of every supermarket in the country, 40 pounds for a few dollars, and folks lift it into the cart without a thought. They do not know where it grew or who dug it or how long it rode in a cold truck. By March half of it will have gone soft in the bag under the sink, the eyes reaching out pale and blind for a light that never comes, and into the bin it goes. So you buy another sack. And another. A grown family eats its way through a few hundred pounds of potatoes a year, and every pound of it is bought from a stranger. Now come out to my patch. It is not a field. It is a square you could lie down in with room to spare, call it 4 feet by 4 feet, a piece of ground smaller than the bed of a pickup. There is no machine on it, no bag of blue chemical, no cost after the spring but my own 2 hands. And out of that one small square, in a good year, I have lifted as much as 100 pounds of potatoes, enough to feed a family clear through to the following spring, sitting in the dark of the cellar sound as the day they came up. My name is Jonas, and I am Amish, and today I am going to show you exactly how a patch you could cover with a bedsheet feeds a household for a year. We will do it the whole way through, choosing the seed, waking it up, planting it now in the heat of July for a fall crop, and the one strange trick that turns 4 square feet into a tower of food. And hold this question all the way to the end, because it is the one that ruins more harvests than frost and drought put together. A man can grow a beautiful 100 pounds of potatoes and lose the lot of them in the cellar inside a month, and it is almost always because of one thing he did to them the day he brought them in, one small kindness that rots the whole crop. You will think you know what it is. Hold it. It starts with the seed, and the seed is just a potato, but not the one from the store. The grocery potato is very often sprayed to keep it from sprouting, so it will sit pretty on the shelf and not embarrass anybody, and a potato that has been told not to grow makes a poor mother. So you want seed potatoes, from a feed store, a garden neighbor, a farm stand, or you want the potato from your own last crop, which is the old way and the free way. Pick ones about the size of a hen's egg. The little ones you plant whole. The big ones you cut into chunks a few days before planting, and here is the only rule that matters in the cutting: every piece must carry at least 1 eye, better 2. The eye is the pale dimple where the sprout comes from. No eye, no plant, you have just buried a slice of supper. Cut them, then let the cut faces sit out in the air a day or 2 till they go dry and corky, like a scab. A wet-cut potato shoved straight in the ground is a potato half inclined to rot. Before it ever goes in the dirt, you wake it up, and this is a step most folks skip and then wonder why their neighbor is eating potatoes a month ahead of them. It is called chitting, which is just an old word for sprouting them on purpose before you plant. Stand your seed potatoes end up in an old egg carton or a shallow box, and set them somewhere cool with a little light, a windowsill in the shed, a bright corner of the porch, not a dark drawer. In a couple of weeks each eye pushes out a short, fat, green-purple sprout, stubby and strong as a pup's tooth. That is a potato with a running start. It hits the warm ground already climbing, and it will beat an unchipped seed to harvest by 2-3 weeks, and in the fall, when you are racing the first frost, 3 weeks is the whole ballgame. Now, July. You are thinking a man plants potatoes in spring, and he does, but he plants them again now, in the heat, for a second crop that comes up in the cool of fall, and a fall potato, hardened by the first light frosts, goes into storage tougher and keeps longer than any spring one. So this is the season, right now, while the ground is warm and there is still a good long run of growing weather ahead. Do not wait for it to be comfortable. Plant into the heat and let the fall do the finishing. Here is the planting, and here is where 4 square feet starts to become 100 pounds. You do not plant a potato deep and walk away. You plant it shallow and then you bury it slow, all summer, a little at a time, and to understand why, you have to understand the one thing about a potato that the grocery sack never taught you. A potato plant makes its potatoes on the buried part of its stem. Not on the roots, on the stem, anywhere the stem is in the dark. The part in the sunlight makes leaves. The part in the dark makes potatoes. And a plant only knows to bury more stem if you bury it for it. So you dig a shallow trench, only about 4 inches down, and you lay your chit seed pieces in it a hand's width and a half apart, sprouts pointing up, and you cover them with just those 4 inches of soil. That is all, for now. In a week or two the green tops come shouldering up. You let them get about 8 inches tall, and then you do the strange thing. You bury them. Not all the way, you leave the top few inches of leaves poking out to breathe, but you heap soil and straw up around that stem until only the crown shows, like tucking a child into the chin. The buried stem, which was going to be plain stem, now sits in the dark, and the dark tells it one thing: make potatoes. It sends out roots that swell into tubers all up its length. And then you do it again. The plant climbs, you wait for another 8 inches or so of growth, and you hill it up again, more soil, more straw, burying the new stem, leaving the top to breathe. And again. All through the growing weeks you keep raising the walls around that plant, and I mean you can pen it in with straw bales or old boards or a bottomless barrel and raise it 2 feet, 3 feet high. Every inch of stem you bury is a new floor of the tower setting potatoes. That is the whole secret in one sentence, so let me say it plain. An ordinary patch grows 1 layer of potatoes down at the bottom, and a hillied patch grows a whole column of them from the ground clear up to the light. Same square of earth. Same one seed. You just gave it room to build upward instead of out. That is where the 100 pounds comes from, not from more ground, but from more dark. Now let me set your mind at ease about the tending, because this is not fussy work. You do not stand over these plants. The hilling is the labor, and even that is a pleasant half hour every couple of weeks with a hoe and a bale of straw. As for water, you remember what I told you in the garden, and it is the same rule here, so I will not belabor it. You water deep and you water seldom. A long slow soak that reaches all the way down to those tubers once a week, or when the top of the soil is dry 2 knuckles down, beats a little sprinkle every evening. The daily sprinkle only wets the surface and teaches the roots to stay up shallow where the sun can bake them. The deep drink sends them down after it and grows a plant that can stand a dry week without you. Deep and seldom. The straw you have been hilling with does half the work for you anyway. It holds the damp in the ground like a blanket and keeps the weeds from ever getting a start. So there she sits through the summer and into the cool, a tower of straw and soil with green leaves nodding on top, quietly packing a season's food into the dark inside. And now let me tell you how you know it is done, because you cannot see it, and this trips people up. You wait for the plant to tell you. Along about fall the tops begin to yellow and flop and die back all on their own. The leaves have finished their work, sent everything they made down into the tubers, and given up the ghost. That is the plant hanging out its flag. When the tops have died down, you stop watering entirely and you leave the potatoes right there in the ground another week or 2. That waiting is not laziness, it lets the skin set thick and tough, and a thick skin is what lets a potato keep for months instead of weeks. Then comes the best day of the whole business, the digging, and it is like reaching into the earth and pulling out coins. You take a fork, start wide so you do not spear them, and you tip the tower over, and they come rolling out of the straw by the double handful, from down at the bottom and all up the buried stem, clean and pale and more than you planted by 10 times, by 20. Have the children do it. There is no child alive who does not love unearthing potatoes. It is the closest thing to buried treasure a poor man's yard will ever hold. And here, right here, with the harvest in the basket, is where your whole year is won or lost, and here is the answer to the question I asked you to hold. Look at these potatoes. They have crumbs of dirt on them. Every honest instinct in your body says the same thing: rinse them off, wash them up nice and clean before you put them away. Do not do it. That is the mistake. That is the one small kindness that rots the whole crop. A potato's skin, when it comes out of the ground, wears a fine dry dust and an unbroken skin, and that is its armor for the winter. The moment you wash it, you strip that off and you leave the skin damp, and a damp potato in a dark bin is a potato throwing a party for rot. One soft one starts, and it takes its neighbors with it, and you come down in December to a bin of slime and a smell you will not soon forget. So you do not wash them. You brush the loose dirt off gentle with your hand, and you leave the rest. Wash a potato the hour before you cook it, never the day you store it. Instead of washing, you cure them, and curing is just letting them toughen up in the cool shade for a week or two. Spread them in a single layer somewhere dark and airy and cool, a shed floor, a porch out of the sun, never in the sunlight, and let them sit a week or two while the skins harden and the small nicks from the fork heal over. Cured, then, they go down into the dark of the cellar, and I mean the dark, a bin, a wooden crate, a basket, low and cool and black as night, with a little air moving. And this is the last piece and the reason for all of it: light is the enemy of a stored potato. Light turns a potato green, and the green part under the skin is the one part of this whole friendly plant that is best not eaten, so if ever you find a potato gone green in a spot, or a sprout with green on it, you cut that part clean away and throw it out, and you keep the rest. That is why the store bag rotted under your sink, a little warm, a little light, a little damp. And that is why mine, brushed and cured and buried in the cold dark, are still hard as apples at Easter. Same potato. I just remembered it wants to sleep the way it was buried, cool, dark, dry, and let alone. So walk the year back with me. A hen's egg seed with two good eyes, sprouted on the windowsill till it kicks. Planted shallow into the July heat. Hillied up with straw and soil again and again as it climbs, so the buried stem builds a tower of potatoes in the dark where an ordinary patch grows but one poor layer. Watered deep and seldom, the way I showed you in the garden. Dug when the tops flag and die. Cured a week in the shade, and never, ever washed, then laid down in the cold black cellar where the light cannot green it. No chemical touched it. No dollar spent after the seed, and the seed came from last year's crop for free. As much as 100 pounds, in a good year, off a square you could cover with a bedsheet, keeping sound till the ground thaws. So tell me down in the comments, how many potatoes does your household eat in a year, do you reckon, and where do you keep the ones you have right now? Look at where they sit tonight, under the sink, in a warm bright kitchen corner. And then go move them somewhere cool and dark, and tell me if they do not last you twice as long for the trouble. I read every one. And if this tower has your hands itching for a fork, I have already shown you how I keep the pests off the whole garden without a drop of poison, and how I grow 3 times the food in the same ground. Go and watch those next. Soon I will take you all the way down into the root cellar itself and show you how a hole in the ground keeps a year of food with no cord and no cost, and you will see where these potatoes spend their winter. The old ways still work.